Welcome to the Hrafn Viking Shipyard. If you want to build your own Viking boat, then this podcast is for you. My name is Andy Bennett. Follow me as I undertake the step-by-step process to build and sail a replica of a 900-year-old Viking sailboat. Specifically, I'm building a replica of a 7.7 meter long Viking workboat that was found in Denmark, and it dates to 1130 AD. The boat dimensions come from the Gislinge boat open source project, and it's published by the Viking Ship Museum in Roskilde, Denmark. Today we're going to start on the drive system for this 900-year-old boat, this 6 horsepower or human-powered vessel. I'm speaking of the oars. And what I've got here is some 5/4 inch fir wood. And what I've done is I've taken the dimensions from the Gislinge open source project and transferred that onto this piece of fir wood. I'm going to cut it out with a jigsaw, and that will be step number 1. Oars are essential for propulsion when the boat's not under sail. If they're unwieldy and perform poorly, then the boat performs poorly. So these, to me, are a priority that deserve as much quality attention and focus as the boat itself. My boat requires 6 oars, 1 for each of the rowing stations. And although I'm starting with the excellent guidance that was provided by the open source project, I've had the opportunity to row for several hours in similar sized Viking boats that were equipped with a range of different types of oars of various lengths and sizes and weights and different types of wood. And the oars that I'm building, what I'm trying to do is take the characteristics of the oars that I liked and incorporate them into the oar, and then avoid the characteristic of the oars that I didn't like, so that I wind up with some oars that my crew can paddle for, if necessary, a long amount of time without getting tired of rowing. You know, if you're going to build a Ferrari, don't think about the engine at the last minute. These are important things to take some time and build correctly. My oars are not dainty. They're 10 feet in length. They have a modestly long hand grip, about 20 centimeters or 7.5 inches. That's about double the length of the ones that were in the open source project sketch. And then for the first third of the length, they're kind of square in cross section, which helps to counterbalance the long sweep of the oar. And then the oar tapers down gently to a thin neck just above the blade. And the blade itself is going to be pretty narrow down here, and it's going to be a classic triangular shape down at the end. I'm going to talk for just a minute about the strongback for making oars. It's pretty simple to construct, but boy does it save your back while you're shaving things. So this is made out of 2x4s. There's just a couple of them that run the distance here. Since I'm making 10-foot oars and I wanted it to stick out on both ends, it's about 6 feet in length. And then there's another 2x6 at the bottom, a couple of side braces down at the bottom. That's to keep it from rocking back and forth. And then a couple of legs down at the bottom. And then I just used a couple pieces of scrap 2x4 down at the bottoms on both sides to hold the trough for the oars, and I also use that for shaving the yard arm and the mast. So very handy, and it's right about just below waist level and well worth the time to build, since we're going to build 6 oars, a mast, a yard arm, and who knows what else I'll use this for, probably for cutting firewood and a few other things. So well worth the time to build it, and very simple, and only a couple bucks of 2x4s from Home Depot. All right, We've made several oars at this point with varying levels of success. The first ones that we made, I tried making out of some Douglas fir that we picked up at Home Depot. And I will say that experience didn't go as well as I was hoping it would. The Douglas fir from Home Depot just had a few too many knots in it. And I'll call that a lesson learned. Trying to shave and use a hand plane around the knots and the varying directions of the wood grain was a real pain in the neck. I think we'll have some usable oars out of that, but it wasn't a very pleasant experience. So the second set of oars that we tried making were out of some significantly more expensive but very knot-free. It was clear fir from Oregon, and that's this oar here. You can see there's really no knots at all, and that was a much more pleasant experience on the shaving and hand planing. I used a draw knife to carve down the neck dimensions here, and I found that the glue up of the three pieces sandwiched together went quite well, and that was a much more pleasant experience. The only thing I wish I had done on this one was I wish that I had used a planer to bring the dimensions of each of these pieces down so that I'd be more symmetrical and I wouldn't have to shave these down farther. So I think I'll do that with the next set, but I'm happy with the design that I have right now. And as I'd mentioned before, I come down to a narrow neck down at the blade, and then up at the end here I've got some girth which helps to counterbalance the oar so that while I'm paddling it's not too unwieldy. And then I've got a handle up here that you can grip pretty well, and so I'm eager to try that out in a boat and see how well this works out for me. I've still got a bit of shaving to do on this to lighten it up, frankly, but other than that, I like the design so far, and we'll see how it goes. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to my podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And as always, if you're in the Minnesota area, stop on in. Helping hands are always welcome around the Hrafn Viking Shipyard. Thanks very much.